I think I better get up. It's about 8:30 and I've got a lot I need to do today. But I'm noticing something that I did not expect to see. I better show you. This is pretty incredible. Don't get to see this very often in Southeast Alaska, from what I'm told. But if I'm not mistaken, this could be one of those rare occasions when there's blue sky. This looks like it's gonna be a beautiful day. The weather was calling for nothing but rain and snow. This is much better than rain and snow, so this is very exciting. Sun's just starting to peek over the hills over there. I don't know how long it's gonna stay nice and sunny, but while it is, we're gonna have fun with it. It's about time I had breakfast. I've never actually tried this before. Generally, my daughter makes our camping bread dough, which is fantastic. But my daughter's not here, and I was staying in a hotel room. So I went to Fred Meyer and I bought this Pillsbury French bread dough. I'm gonna throw some butter in here. We do like butter. Get the butter nice and liquidy. There we go. We'll throw it in on that nice hot butter. Just like so. All right, the bread is rising nicely. That's good to see. Let's see how she's doing. Ooh, I might have burned that. I definitely burned it. But I've got some bacon cooking, sizzling away in there. Just cut the crispy part off the top of my fry bread. Still edible. We'll put some honey on it, because honey with butter on bread is one of the best things on the whole planet. It doesn't really hold a candle to bread that you make yourself, but it's still extremely delicious. Let's see how this stuff is. Hard to go wrong with bacon. Even if it's not great bacon, it's still great because it's bacon. Bacon makes everything great. I think I'm gonna finish the bacon up, then I'm gonna head out, see if I can find a new place for shelter. This place was a very fortunate find last night. I mean, I could have stayed up all night building a shelter, but this place was already built. Worked really well. But I'm hoping to sleep a little more comfortably tonight. So I'll spend the rest of the morning looking for a good place to shelter, and then I'll go crabbing, and then I'll have to get a shelter built, which will probably take most of the day. That is a beautiful beach. Tide's out. This is probably a really good time to set the crab pot, but I want to do a little bit of exploring first. When I was a kid, we lived in Unalakleet, and we'd go down to the beach sometimes, and you'd have, when the tide would go out, you'd have these sandbars sticking way out in the water, and I like to run out there. Of course, I was only 4 years old, so I would get stuck, and either my older sisters or my dad would have to come and save me. This is not like this. This is, or not like that. This is actual sand, which is just fascinating to me. I mean, it goes It must go way out here. I really should go drop the crab pot. Looks like the tide might be starting to come back in. Which, from what some of the people who live in this area have told me, is when you want to put your pots out. Put them out there when the tide's coming in, and the crabs kind of follow the water line closer to shore, so they'll move back in. Because I don't really want to go too far out there in my little inflatable raft. Let's see, what is that? Oh, seagull droppings. Nothing fancy. I might. That drops down steep. If this wraps around to where that is, there might be rock over there. I might go over there. Of course, that's a fairly significant walk, but my feet still work. I walked from the beach over there, and it looks like there's a tidal slough that comes up through that. I'm assuming there'll be water in it when the tide comes in, maybe not. But there's definitely rock on the beach over there. Finding some shells all over the place, even up here in the grass. Critters must pick them up and then bring them up here to eat them, would be my guess. But anyway, my thought is go over there and see how things look. Still walking, but this is some of the easiest walking you can have. It's all just grass. This might be, well, it's probably not even marshy in the summertime. Probably just tall grass everywhere. Everything's sand. This is a pretty neat area. I mean, most places I've been to the coast in Alaska, it's rock right down to the shore. But in cases where it's different, it's usually silt, which turns into quicksand. This is a really cool area. I'll have to spend more time here. Just got snow in my boots. Better empty them out before I have soaked feet. I'm not an expert at all on mollusks and non-vertebrates, but I do like picking up shells. So I'm trying to collect the ones that are whole, bring them home to the kids. I think this is the winner so far. I don't know if it's a geoduck or what kind of a clam that is, but I was thinking about coming over here to the rocks and trying to collect some of these to eat, but the state of Alaska Department of Fish and Game recommends not eating any of the clams from waters around here because of paralytic shellfish poison. It's apparently a big problem, especially with water temperatures getting a little bit warmer. The algae stays alive longer, and there are certain algae that mollusks will feed on, and it is toxic to humans. So the clams will eat the algae, and then we eat the clams, and it can be toxic enough to be fatal. So I'm not going to be trying to eat any of the mussels or clams that I find, if I can find any, because I don't want to get poisoned. That does not sound like a good time. But I do still enjoy the shells, and I'm gonna pick up a couple of more to bring home with me. Another winner. Stuff like that I could eat. I'm not sure what type of seaweed that is, but It's probably edible. I know popweed is edible, and you know, kelp and other things, but I'm not an expert at identification, so I don't know what that is, but it's most likely edible. I've got food, so I may not be eating any, but if I needed to, I could, and it would probably be really good for me. Coming up to some rocks now, and that is pretty steep down to the water. This is kind of what I was expecting when I came here. Was not expecting that glorious sandy beach. But if there's a way to get into the trees and bring some of this rock back up, although this is really big rock, I have to pick through it and just to find stuff that I can move. Also, if I want to get out of here when the tide is in, I may not be able to, because this is probably a lot wider than I want to wade, and I don't know if I want to pack the boat up. Yeah, we'll see. We'll just see what we can find up here. I'm not sure if this is any better than the place I camped last night. Boy. Let's see what we can see up here. This is all going to be underwater when the tide comes back in. Not sure if it would be worth it to camp up here, even if I find a perfect place. I might pass, which means I'm going to have to figure something else out for shelter tonight, or just do a repeat of last night. It's not like I didn't sleep at all. I actually got more sleep than I thought I would. I'll bet I got a solid 4.5, maybe 5 hours of sleep, which is better than I expected. I might just do a repeat. If I wasn't worried about the paralytic shellfish poisoning, it wouldn't be too hard to feed yourself here. I mean, that is a whole lot of mussels there, and they're edible, you know, blue mussels. But I don't feel like getting paralyzed today, so I am gonna pass. I'm gonna take my little shell collection and head back to camp. We'll blow up the raft and just see if we are able to catch some crabs. Crabs could have PSP in them, from what I've read, but it won't be in their meat. It would be in their digestive tract. So as long as you do a good job cleaning and don't have any of the guts contaminating what you eat, it shouldn't be something to worry about. I'm coming up on my friends that woke me up this morning. There's a whole flock of geese out there. I'm gonna try not to scare them too bad. I don't want them to have to fly away. They don't seem to be too bothered by me. They're moving away, but it's not like they're panicking and flying. I made it back to my side of the trees, and the tide is way out. Not sure where I want to put the boat in at. That looks like it stays shallow forever. I was thinking I'd go out to like 40 feet or so, but might go all the way across the bay before I found water that deep. That's all right. Pretty amazing place here, and a beautiful day. Got a little friend that's checking me out. He was working his way towards my food cache, but then he saw me, decided to find greener pastures, which is fine with me. Squirrels might be about the cutest things on the planet, but my goodness, can they make a mess. I changed my mind again. I packed everything up I think I want to go crabbing around the point where I went. And so packed everything up, and now I'm gonna have to hurry because it'll probably be dark before I'm on the water at this rate. More walking. I was just trying to be lazy because I don't like walking around with 70 pounds on my back. But there are worse things. I could be at work. Here we go. Well, I made it to the other side, and I'm hoping to find something similar in this tree line over here. Let's see what it looks like. This is pretty cool. This is the most northernmost rainforest in the world, I believe. Beautiful. I think I'm going to drop my pack here anyway and get the boat out. We'll see if we can find some crab, and we'll deal with shelter later. Hopefully this isn't too complicated because I did not read the instruction manual. Had to go all the way back to where I dropped my backpack to find this hose. But I did find it, so now all we have to do is air this boat up and we should be in business. There's a seal out there saying hello. Hello. I gotta get to work. Don't eat my bait. Alright, I'm the captain of my own vessel. And it even floats. I don't see any leaks. The paddles are about as chintzy, or the oars are as chintzy as they come, but as long as they get me where I'm going, I'm not going to complain too loud. Let's see if there's any crabs out here. And if the wind picks up, I think the wind will push me across the water faster than I could ever row this thing. These oars are just too short, even for a tiny little float tube like this. Probably should have tried this when I was back on land. I do not want to pull my knife out, but that is not wide enough. Just be really careful. Sharp objects and inflatables don't play nicely. Well, that's all bad. There we go. All right, time for the stinky stuff. Man, I'm working my way back into shore. I think I'd like to go a little deeper. Don't need to be a lot deeper, but I think I would like to be a little bit deeper. Maybe we'll get this all ready to go and then maybe go a little deeper. Next time, I think I'll get this ready to go before we leave shore. That sounds like a great plan. All right, fish chunk number one. Lots of chunks of fish. I'll go a little deeper. All right, tally ho. Not sure if I've done this right or not, but at this point, doesn't matter anymore. Ooh, well that matters. I should have just left the buoy on shore, pull it out with me, but that is not what I did. This is going to be a problem. Got 100 feet of rope, but that won't do us any good if it's all tangled up. That's why I don't like rope coils. Well, I've got a confession to make. I've done some extremely embarrassing things. A lot of extremely embarrassing things. But this one is up there. And thankfully it's not actually on camera because my battery died right before it happened. But I just lost my crab pot. I wasn't even remotely concerned about running out of line, so I didn't have a tag line on it. I had 100 feet of line, and I just assumed that would be plenty. I went out a couple of 100 yards, and I was actually thinking the water would only be, 40 feet deep maybe. If you go down the beach that way, back to where my old camp was, about a mile or so, at low tide, I'd probably still be able to walk on the sandbar all the way out to where I dropped the pot here. So I just made a poor assumption that the bottom would be similar over here, and terrible assumption. So no crab for me today, and I'm gonna leave my crab pot and all my line and everything at the bottom of the bay here. And this is why the fishing game writes the regulations so that crab pots are built so that anything that gets in has a way to get out. There's nothing good about it though. Live and learn. I won't do that again, but it stinks that I did it this time. I was really excited about that crab. I think I might pack all my stuff up and go back to my old camp just so I'll be closer to where I need to be in the morning. That'll shave off a mile of walking tomorrow. Boy, I still can't believe I did that. I mean, it happened, so I can believe it, but that was just not very intelligent. Oh well. Just make sure I don't ever do the same thing again. And we're off again. It's gonna be dark before I get there, maybe. Hell, sun's down, but it may not be dark before I get there. Figure I'll walk through the trees just because these trees are amazing, even if it makes the hike a little rougher. But look at this.
Thanks for watching part 2 of my little misadventure here in Southeast Alaska. Please feel free to tell me what I could have done better down in the comments section. I realize that's a lot of stuff, but maybe we can learn something together. I'll be posting part 3 pretty soon here, but until then, be good. If you can't be good, at least be careful.